Welcome to Crops, Cattle, and Charley. I'm Aaron Smith, and I'm joined today by Andrew Griffith and University of Tennessee Farm and Financial Management economist Charley Martinez with the Department of Agriculture and Resource Economics. Dr. Martinez is going to be discussing the June feed report. So Dr. Martinez, what are some key points from the report?
Well, I think in the report, just from a domestic standpoint, I think the biggest impact or the biggest subject in it is obviously the COVID and what it's done to the industry. And on the corn side, as it relates to the livestock world, ethanol demand for corn had diminished by almost 50 million bushels on the first quarter. And so with that, that leaves a lot of corn supply left in the market. With that, it's gonna have some interesting effects moving forward in some of the projections in terms of ethanol use. But also going back on the supply side of things, some of the states, and according to the June 7th NASS report, most of the corn states are the primary corn states reported over 90% or higher in plantings. And so if we think about it, lower ethanol, more corn, or the corn being planted, we had 90% making it in terms of planting. I would expect a good supply or high supply moving forward.
So, Dr. Martinez, can you expand on the COVID effects of ethanol demand and how it relates to the livestock producers?
Yeah. So fuel demand, as we know, we all got shelter in place. A lot of the country was a shelter in place for long, extended periods of time. And so whenever that occurred in January, for instance, we were using around 8,100 8,100,000 miles in January in vehicles on the roadways. When we got to April, we got that cut down to 5,200. And so what that implies is that we had less vehicles on the road, more people shelter in place. And as we start opening up randomly, some states are opening sooner, some states are going back on shutdown, some cities are going back on shutdown. That's going to leave a lot of ethanol demand fluctuating, but generally it's still going to be a low trend, which is therefore, as I mentioned earlier, it's going to increase the supply available for corn in terms of alternative uses. And so instead of being used for ethanol, it can be used for the feed side of things. And so as you mentioned in earlier videos, we have a backlog coming out. And so with the potential decrease in cost, it should help with the demand as feeders come out of that backlog in the fall and we start having that extra supply. And they start they moved out the cattle and now they got space in order to go out and find cattle with a lower cost that should incentivize them to go out and purchase those feeder calves. As you say, margin is the biggest key. And if we can decrease the cost for those feeder cattle or for the feeders, that should help in terms of demand for the people that are producing the feeder calves. So moving forward, that's what I would expect is a lower feed cost for those people moving forward.
That's great information. Thank you for joining us for Crops, Cattle, and Charley. We appreciate your attendance, and we hope that you will join us again.